this moment of tragedy, I want to say to them and to the world and to terrorists everywhere.
President Joe Biden faces a complex conflict between Israel and Hamas. As the possibility of an Israeli ground attack on Gaza grows, Biden has the task of balancing America's unwavering commitment to Israel, its long-standing ally in the region, with the global call to ensure safety for Gaza's civilians. Additionally, he aims to prevent the situation from escalating into a more extensive Middle East conflict. The US has historically been a strong friend to Israel, often supporting its defense and speaking up for it on the world stage. But now there's a problem. Lots of innocent people in Gaza are getting hurt, and there's a big risk if Israel decides to use more force. Everyone around the world is watching closely. Biden has to continue supporting Israel, but he also has to listen to the world's concerns about the safety of innocent people in Gaza. This is super important for Biden because if he doesn't handle it well, a small fight could turn into a much bigger problem that involves many more countries in the Middle East. Many Arab and Muslim Americans are not happy with Biden's strong support for Israel, and this could be a problem for him when it's time for the next election in 2024. On October 18, 2023, Biden visited Israel, showing that he supports both Israelis and Palestinians, although people perceive that Biden only supports one side. On the ground, things are pretty bad. Israel's leader, Benjamin Netanyahu, who is known for making strong decisions, talks a lot with Biden. They discuss not only military moves, but also the bigger picture of what might happen if Israel continues to fight hard against Hamas. While these leaders talk, everyday people are suffering. They're stuck in the middle of this fight and need help. Biden has been working hard, talking to Netanyahu and Egypt's leader, Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, to get important supplies into Gaza. But there's more to the story. There are ongoing talks to free some hostages, including some Palestinian Americans and 2 Israelis, whom Hamas is holding. A planned meeting with leaders from Jordan had to be cancelled, showing just how complicated and tricky the situation is. Through all this, Biden is trying his best to understand all the different parts of the problem, helping people in need and keeping good relationships with other countries. The recent war between Israel and Hamas has also exacerbated anti-Semitism worldwide, spotlighting a dangerous fallout of the conflict. A global task force against anti-Semitism warned of a sharp rise in anti-Semitic incidents, attributing it to the war. This task force, known as the J7 and representing large Jewish communities outside Israel, along with the Anti-Defamation League, reported a 500% increase in documented anti-Semitic incidents in Britain since the October 7 attack by Hamas. Similarly, the US and France have witnessed 107 and 189 anti-Semitic incidents, respectively, since the war commenced. This surge in anti-Semitism is not only confined to the aforementioned countries. Reports from China indicate a wave of online anti-Semitism following Hamas's attack on Israel on October 7th. This wave of hatred is part of a broader trend observed globally, where Jews face increased threats and anti-Semitism in the wake of the Israel-Hamas conflict. In Europe too, the war triggered a wave of anti-Semitism, with Jews fearing they might become targets of Muslim anger. In various regions, including the United States, the United Kingdom and Germany, the conflict has stirred anti-Semitic sentiments, manifesting in both online platforms and street protests. Anti-Israel protests have also witnessed slogans justifying Hamas's actions alongside deeply disturbing anti-Semitic images and rhetoric. In Berlin, as part of an intimidation campaign, some individuals marked buildings where Jews reside, exemplifying the alarming rise in anti-Semitic acts. The Middle East is like a puzzle, with many countries, old fights and goals mixing together. In this puzzle, Saudi Arabia is a big and important piece. When Joe Biden talked with the leader of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman, it wasn't just small talk. They both want to keep the Israel-Hamas fight from spreading. Over time, how Saudi Arabia feels about Israel has been changing. There have been secret talks suggesting that Saudi Arabia might officially recognize Israel as a country. This is surprising because Biden has said negative things about Saudi Arabia before. The whole situation becomes more complicated when you remember the problems involving oil and what Russia did in Ukraine. But when the Israel-Hamas fighting got worse, Saudi Arabia decided to wait on becoming friends with Israel. This shows how fast countries can change their minds based on what's happening in the world. Another big change was when Saudi Arabia started talking with Iran, another important country in the Middle East. They're trying to prevent even more violence from breaking out in the area. Middle East has a long history of fights, and the current one is just another part. Recently, Israel made peace deals with some countries like the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Morocco and Sudan. This shows things in the Middle East are changing. If Saudi Arabia, a big leader in the Middle East, made a peace deal with Israel, it would be a big deal. This could start a new time of working together and make groups like Hamas weaker. But making peace is hard. The US is trying to help, but many wonder, can there ever be real peace in the Middle East? Not long before the recent fights, Benjamin Netanyahu and Joe Biden talked about peace between Israel and Saudi Arabia, but then the fighting got worse and those peace talks stopped. The US had been hoping Saudi Arabia and Israel would become closer friends. If they did, the US would promise to help protect Saudi Arabia. But because of the fights, those plans had to wait. This shows how quickly things can change in the Middle East and how hard it is to keep peace. Recently, the situation in the Middle East has worsened. One significant event was an attack on a hospital in Gaza. Many Palestinians lost their lives. Different groups were quick to point fingers. Palestinian leaders accused Israel of the attack. On the other hand, Israel claimed a Palestinian group fired a rocket that didn't hit its target, causing the tragedy. Let's dive a bit deeper into the history and the bigger picture to understand these events. The conflict between Israel and Palestine has roots that date back over a century. At the heart of the conflict are disputes over land, religion, and historical claims to territories. Over time, various groups have emerged, representing different interests within this complex issue. Hamas is one such group. Others see it as a resistance movement against Israeli occupation. President Joe Biden found himself in a challenging situation. The US has historically been an ally of Israel, but it also advocates for peace in the region and the establishment of a two-state solution where both Israelis and Palestinians can coexist. To address the situation, Biden traveled to Israel. His visit aimed to show US concern, support, and his intention to help find a solution to bring an end to the fighting. Throughout history, US presidents have played crucial roles in mediating peace talks and negotiations between conflicting parties in the Middle East. Biden's involvement underscores the importance of the US in trying to stabilize the situation. The US has stepped into conflicts in other countries a few times, but sometimes this only made things worse. In Vietnam from 1955 to 1975, the US tried to stop communism, but ended up in a long, destructive war that hurt Vietnam badly. In Iraq from 2003 to 2011, the US went in to get rid of supposed dangerous weapons, but this led to a lot more violence and fighting between different groups in Iraq. In Afghanistan from 2001 to 2021, the US aimed to stop terrorism, but it turned into a long war. Even after so many years, peace didn't last and the situation got bad again when the Taliban took over. Recently, Hamas released 2 American hostages, Judith Raanan and her 17-year-old daughter Natalie. The US showed its support for Israel by sending more military ships and aircraft nearby due to Hamas's attacks. President Joe Biden criticized the Hamas attacks on Israeli civilians and confirmed the US's strong support for Israel, showing a continued alliance between the countries amidst the ongoing conflict. This situation highlights the tough international relations. where a wrong move could affect not only Israel and Hamas, but also the broader Middle East and global community. The combination of military actions, hostage situations, and international diplomacy demonstrates the difficulty of achieving peace. The long-standing Israeli-Palestinian conflict continues to challenge the US and the world in working toward peace in the Middle East. In the past, the US played a significant role in Middle East politics to curb communism during the Cold War. Now, with Biden as president, the US military shows its strength by supporting Israel with thousands of troops, tanks, and planes. This recent event reflects the historical US involvement and the ongoing challenges in pursuing peace in a complex region. Do you think the US helping in the Middle East is good or bad for peace there? Let us know in the comments, smash that like, and subscribe for more.